Hey everybody, Dave Putz here from JKP Holdings. Alongside me as always, Nathan Turner.
Good
How are you
afternoon, morning,
doing? How things
whatever.
going?
Very good, very good.
Cool. I know last week we were discussing some stuff you're going to move forward on buying and whatnot. I'm still
Yeah,
working on some CFD stuff. We just had some other things going on our side.
yeah.
What's been new with you this week?
I'm waiting to hear back on some bids. I put I think it was actually last Friday. I put in 8 or 9 bids, and I'm just
Okay.
waiting to hear back on those. I should hear back today. So we'll see.
Ah,
We'll see.
exciting Friday. That's
And I got
awesome.
some backup ones just in case those don't go through. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. So, are you reaching out to look for assets? What are you doing to typically do? Are you getting assets sent to you or are you reaching out right now?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
And it varies. There are times it's matching up the inventory with the money. And so for a while, everything was tied up. So I didn't have any money to spend. And then I sold a bunch of stuff. So I'm ready to go again. So then I'm reaching out to a couple people, and then I'm on some other guys' lists where they just send me stuff automatically. So it's a
Cool.
little bit of both.
Cool. I know we did a reach out just about 3 weeks ago just to get to the off market stuff, getting people that we typically hit, kind of segue right into what we're talking about today. Those people who may do one off here, one off there, are brokers, but legitimate brokers where they're actually finding assets. We have a few in common that we reach out to, and those people actually are really, really helpful if they know what they're doing, right? Find the deal, make sure it's secure. So it's interesting. So for me, we're reaching out to most of the hedge funds send those tapes when they're ready to send them, right? The sellers send them out. You can't reach out and prompt them to send some stuff to them. But people like Mark and people like him, we can reach out time to time because they forget about us because they're not built to do what the bigger companies do.
Yeah. And I do the same thing. People will ask me if I've got anything for sale. And I say, not right now. Hit me up again in a month. Because I don't have a set mailing list that I send out to. Maybe I should or could, but I just say, no, just hit me up and see what I got.
Yeah. So segue right into what we're doing today. Most people here know him as R, right? Mark.
Ray.
So R May Panic. So I'm going to say that, and I didn't tell before we went live, that I think Mark is probably the one person that likes more posts on Facebook than anyone in the world. And he's prompt too, which is awesome. He's involved in everything. And I thought I'd be like kind of sly and went to a different group and posted something. Literally, he was one of the first people to like it. So he is full of information, full of networking, which is amazing. So it was interesting when Nathan brought up bringing Mark on the program today that his background's different from what we do, but he understands what we do as well.
Yeah.
But he's doing it in a way that most people out there are not and can be replicated for a lot of people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ray and I talked about, what was that, like a year and a half ago? And had a really nice conversation and just kind of just comparing notes about how we do things. And one of the things that we just discussed here before we started is there's so many ways to do this, and there's so many right ways to do it. And so you can do almost anything you want. There are some wrong ways, don't get me wrong, but there are so many right ways to do it. Just pick one and do it and go for it. So that's kind of the introduction for I call you Ray, but whatever.
Yeah. So those people are online here watching us live. Mark, Ray, give us a little background, who you are, where you came from, what real estate have you done, and where you're at today.
Yeah, just a little quick bio. So I grew up in Michigan, and I'm sure Nathan can appreciate being a Canadian there, that we always appreciate and enjoy our Canadian friends because it was so close. It was closer to go to Canada than it was to Ohio, crossing over to Windsor. And going to Ontario, the outdoors and all that kind of stuff, being in Michigan, always loved that. However, the cold, I didn't have a lot of use for that cold and snow, lake effect snow. And my whole life, I was like, brr, someday I'm getting the heck out of here. And literally, I graduated college on a Saturday, left on Sunday, and I was in Dallas, Texas on Monday, and could not get the heck out of Michigan fast enough. Plus also just watching what was going on in Detroit and how it was at one time and see the decline. And I literally, as a college student, said, last one out of Detroit, turn off the lights, because I said, this place is going to file bankruptcy the way they're going. So I just, even in college, I was looking at business and cycles and different things like that. And I also, even in making my decision, I noticed a lot of people, when they left Detroit, they went to Houston. And Detroit had this boom bust with the auto industry. Houston had this boom bust with the oil industry. So I sort of evaluated, and I was looking at California, but geez, back in the 1980s, a basic house was $250,000. I'm thinking, how could they go any higher? That's so expensive. And I mean, Austin, Texas in the 1980s, you could get a house for $50,000. You know what they're going for today? Those same houses, right?
Yeah.
A basic house, 400,000 plus.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I got a guy who's a neighbor here where I'm parked. And unfortunately, I asked him, please don't bonk that horn. Oh, no, it would be no problem. And so it's like, anyways, but back to the point being that I knew that Texas was going to grow. And I looked at Florida, I looked at California, I looked at Texas. And between the three, I said, well, Texas is in the middle. And then I looked at the cities, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and I decided on Dallas. So I first went to Dallas, and I was shy. And I was not only so shy, with a college degree, I started work as a security guard, working 11 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning, so I could literally avoid people, and I worked for minimum wage. Yeah. So the thing I've seen with this business, whether it's real estate or notes or anything, is there's people who are introverted, and they're so introverted that they avoid people. And I've had to work a lot to overcome that, because most of my business comes from other people. I know that might be shocking. And some people like to be safely behind their computer and avoid talking to people. Yeah. But the number one thing I tell people is it's a mindset that who I'm going to help has a real estate situation or a note situation that I'm going to have to talk to them, communicate. So the number one thing that changed my life for me was something called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters really helped my communication skills, my confidence, and things like that. And then I also, as I studied reading all these books, I learned about the importance of sales and communication and negotiation and influence. So I'd say, if you're to ask me what business I'm in, are you in the real estate business? Are you in the note business? What business are you in? I'm in the people business. I'm in the business of risk management, because the biggest risk is people. And so I'm looking for people problems that I can have a unique perspective, and I can provide a solution that normal solutions don't work. And so I start out just focused on single family homes because it's simple. Now I've gone on and I've done multifamily and done commercial and made a run at some multifamily, not some multifamily, but trailer parks, things like that. And I do like different asset classes. And people say to me that know that I do apartments. Why don't you just do apartments? I say, well, here's the thing, understand. I often get a better return on a simple note than a house, than an apartment, than anything else. There's things I can do with notes that you can't do with anything else in terms of the creativity and leverage. And then on top of that, put it in a Roth IRA. So the combination of all these things where, an apartment, you get excited, you get 8, 10, 12, 15% return, maybe a home run would be 25. My average on notes is going to be 15 to 25, and a home run is going to be 50 to 100% or better. So the kind of yields and that's just first. I mean, you go into some seconds and it's like, but the offset, of course, is those seconds that didn't turn out. And but I like performing first, non-performing first, performing seconds, non-performing seconds. I like all of it. If worst case scenario, I'm going to get the asset. Worst case. So that's the difference with my mindset is I looked at the asset more than the borrower. Now, note people, tradition is looking at the borrower. I look at all because I'm thinking to myself, worst case scenario, I'm going to foreclose. Yeah. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? What's the condition of the property? And so, well, if I can get this property and I have to foreclose and they trashed it and everything else, I can handle that. I'm not afraid of that. And then I could potentially wholesale, or better yet, I'm going to turn around and create a note. So part of my whole mindset, and this goes for apartments too, geez, if I could get in a second lien, the right second lien in a hotel, in a commercial property, in a apartment complex, where I wouldn't mind owning the asset. That's the difference fundamentally with me and most note investors I know, because a bank, most note investors, they just want that income and cash flow. So I play both sides is what I like to say, play both sides. And I literally have found my way into notes through contacting somebody who is in foreclosure. And again, and then specifically, I just talked about one of my little niches I like. So one of the niches I found that I like is an area where you've got, there's urban, there's suburban, and there's rural. So I'd say there's 3 areas. Most of the time, the people, they like the notes, they live in the suburbs and they like to buy a note in the suburb. Well, those are some of the hardest ones. The thing I learned early on was a note with a little hair on it. And part of the hair on it is the location. So some notes that would scare people, I'd look around and I go, well, but there's some good people that live here in this minority area. And I literally, one time I worked with a guy in San Antonio, and he was buying 100 houses a year. Then he'd sell these houses on seller finance and sell the notes. And he was making $1 million a year.
Nice.
So I actually ended up coaching him, helped him make an extra $200,000 by restructuring some things with what he was doing, because he's paying too much in taxes, paying too much in the note discount. And he just didn't package things for maximizing, minimizing the discount and taxes and everything else. But that was part of my finance background, was my mindset. So here's a guy who was real strong in sales and marketing and was doing 100 houses a year, but he's paying through the nose, borrowing money, discount, taxes, everything. I saw an opportunity there. Yeah. So I really helped him. And that led to, because I wasn't doing those low-end houses at that time, my houses in Dallas I was doing were in the 80 to 150 range was my typical house. So one of the things that happened for me was I go and I'm in San Antonio, and then I go to Houston, I go to Corpus Christi, I go to Corpus Christi, and there's areas in Corpus Christi. Now, Corpus Christi is about 86% Hispanic. There's areas, habla español, there, And so what I learned is I've got a lot of Black friends that their parents told them, go to college, get an education. And they did, and they moved to the suburbs. I've got some good friends and good clients who are college graduates and successful investors now. But where they used to live is the areas where I buy.
Right.
And what happens is when people move up and they get, college degree and education, stuff like that, they want to live in the suburbs. They want to live in the better areas. So what I find is there's these vacant houses. And along with these vacant houses, I would focus on marketing to, and they would be probate. And I love probate as a way to find assets, because right now, think about this for a moment. The courts has been backed up because of COVID, right?
Yeah. And
the probate is a legal process that has to go through a court process. So there's a window of opportunity right now with probate that there's this backlog. And so most note investors, most real estate investors, they don't deal with that. So that's a little unique niche that I really like. And what I've been able to do then is I had somebody refer me. There's an area, there's Houston, Texas, and then I like the secondary markets. So we got an area called Beaumont, which is about 120,000 population, Port Arthur, about 80,000 population, and then there's little towns in between. Well, I got this call one day, and this guy asked me if I wanted to buy this property. Long story short, they wanted about 25,000, and it was in the hood, as they would say. But again, there's a nice brick house. This house, with what's happened now, the brick house next door flooded when they had all this flooding happen in this area. So they completely remodeled that. This house is like on the market for $180,000 next door now. 2-story brick, nice. The house that I got is like the worst house on the street. Little frame shotgun with the shiplap, like built to withstand hurricanes, right? When the hurricanes come, the other houses get damaged and this house is still there. And so they were wanting 20-something. I said, well, you're telling me the electrical works and the gas works and the plumbing works and everything. But if any of those systems work, I got to deal with the city and I got to get permits and give me master plumber and everything else, electrician. It's going to be expensive. So they wanted, when I even got them down, at least 10. I ended up buying that house for $2,000.
Wow.
Now, when you can buy a house that's got good bones and still standing for $2,000, how high is your risk? Very, you can't even buy the dirt for that, right? And then on top of that, there's other houses that are bigger and nicer in brick. See, one thing I got real clear about there's a shortage of affordable housing in this country.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. We know lumber prices have gone up. We know the prices of everything going up. So one thing that will always be poor people. That's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And there's going to be low income people. There's going to be people that make minimum wage that work at Walmart, that work at McDonald's, that work, and they got to live somewhere. So these low income people, they need housing, and they're good people. They just happen to live in a high crime area. And it's a small percentage of the people that are doing the crime. Most of the people have families, they care about their families, they want clean, safe. And I'll never forget the guy I was working with in Corpus Christi, Sam. I've been used to these $100,000 houses in Dallas, Fort Worth, where we tear out and put a new kitchen in, new thing. I mean, we've remodeled the house, right? Update everything. So one of the first times I go, and I'd heard one of these gurus, and he said, like, the uglier the better, right? So I'm looking at this house, and I point, I go, oh, well, look at that one. That's about ready to fall over. And he turned and looked at me like I'm crazy. He said, why would we do that one? It's close to a tear down. We could do this one over here, and it's close to rent ready. Oh, never thought about that. But you know, the guru hype about all this stuff.
Of course.
And that really was a turning point for me, because I've been thinking, how in the world is he doing 100 houses a year? We're doing ugly houses. Right. It's because he cherry pick the better houses in the better areas, and the bad ones he'd let go. And the better ones were, I mean, when we bought these houses, the people were asking 25, 35,000 for them, and I'd get them down to 15.
Yeah.
My average purchase price in one of these houses, and this was like 800 to 1,200 square feet, a simple 2131, and I'd buy it for all cash for 15. I'd close on Monday. I'd have the crew start. We're doing carpet, we're doing paint. I remember the first time I look around, I go, well, aren't you going to replace the sink? No. No. Aren't you going to replace the countertop? No. Well, what are you going to do here? Flooring and painting. That's it. It's going to be better than the place they're renting.
Yeah.
Go, wow, never thought about that. That's brilliant. Simple. And they're so grateful, because the place that they were living right now and renting from their slumlord at $450, $500, $550 a month, for the same monthly payment, they could buy our house. And this time of year, January through April, tax refund time, they'd get a $4,000 check, and they could take their $4,000 check and give us 10% down. We'd buy it for 15. We'd fix it for 5. We'd literally close on Monday. It'd be done by Friday. And I would have on Saturday a group of nice Hispanic people, the whole family, begging me, please, senor, sell to me. I said, sorry, whoever's got the most money. There's sort of a bidding, whoever can give me the largest down payment. And so the interesting thing is, the hardest thing was not finding the property. The hardest thing was not finding the buyer. The hardest thing was working with people who did not have credit and were used to paying all cash. And they didn't have records. So I will never forget, one time I had to sit down with this one guy and help him do his tax return, because he hadn't done his tax return, and just gathering up, records of paying on cars and whatever records there were, help them to put together a package. So we had something we should show our note buyer. And then along with that, we had potentially 5 different note buyers that were all interested. And we typically would sell it for about 12% face amount at that time. And then with the discount, now let me just finish out the numbers. So we'd sell it for $42,000. We'd get $4,000 down. So that creates a $38,000 note. We did table funding. So I'm sure some new people here don't know what table funding is. But basically, we have a note buyer that before we close the transaction, they are using their own paperwork. They have their attorney, their paperwork, everything else. So it's the way they like it in case they want to foreclose. And then that $38,000 note that's being created, they fund it at closing and buy our note. So there's a big discount because it's table funded. There's no payment history or seasoning. And so we'd sell it for about $28,000. But when we sold that $38,000 note for $28,000 at a 12% face yield, they'd be pretty happy with that return on a performing first. It just didn't have the seasoning. But we got 28 plus 4 gave us 32. 32 less our 15 less our 5 was 20. We had about 2,000 in holding and closing costs. Everything went so fast. Literally, we'd close on Monday. It'd be sold on Saturday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we get some questions here.
Yes.
There was one thing about taxes you mentioned earlier, that teaching others how to save on taxes. But one question Marco just asked was, how are you underwriting these borrowers in ensuring that they have the ability to repay?
Good question. Good question. Well, back in the day, we would just do our own underwriting. And now, of course, with the change in laws, we have an RMLO. So, and I'm very upfront with people because back in the old days, we could take anybody we liked. And again, they could show, because some people don't claim all their money, if you know what I mean, especially in some low income areas. They got a second side hustle where it's like they got their truck or they got their this, they got whatever side hustle, and they're making sometimes as much or more money on their side hustle as they are on their full-time job.
Yeah.
And so that became the problem then, because I've literally had some people, and I said, well, sir, you need to put records together if we're going to sell you a house. We can help, but you're going to need to have 6 months of records. You're going to need to have tax returns. You're going to need to, and so, and here we got Nathan over here. He's an RMLO, and let me introduce you now. He's going to charge you $200. And, but it's an educational process when you're in the low end about the requirements now that there are to make sure everything's done right. But we always make sure we want to be compliant with Dodd-Frank and the SAFE Act and everything. And then, even the whole thing with generating owner-occupied properties, one of the reasons why I do stuff like this and network is because here's the deal. You can do your first 3 in Texas with no problem. After that, there's you might have to get licensed or scrutiny and different things like that. However, if Nathan over here has never done one before and he's excited, guess what? I happen to find this deal. I say, Nathan, this is your deal. Yeah. Oh, really? That's great. Yeah, we'll have your entity and everything. And then once everything's done, my Roth IRA will buy a tail. Oh, really? That's so nice of you. And then, of course, it's not costing me much for the tail. He's got most of the money. And then depending on his strategy, he's created a nice monthly income for himself.
Explain for those who don't know what tail means.
Okay, great. So I'll just finish the thought here. So he's got the front end of the loan, and let's suppose it's a 15-year. And out of the 15 years, he's got the first 10 year or 120 payments. So he's got the 120 payments, and then I take the last 5 years of the 15 years, and I buy that in my IRA. So I have an interest in the property, but I didn't originate it. So because I didn't originate it, there's certain laws that I don't have to deal with because it's the first time for him. So that's why I like to find new people all the time that I can work with them to originate. I still get a piece of the note, but I'm putting it in my IRA and my tail, and there's different ways of doing it. So tail means that there's the front part of the loan, and then I'm buying the last 60 payments of the loan, of the whole 180. He gets 120, which is the first 10 years. I get the last 5 years or 60
so
payments.
You're buying a reverse partial pretty much.
Basically.
Most times when you sell a partial, you sell the front end, not the tail. Any reason why you're not buying the first part of the notes?
Well, I will do that sometimes. I will do that sometimes, but typically it's one that I've created myself. And for example, I'll just give you, I got a lot of different case studies that I could do. So part of the thing I see the opportunity right now, because a lot of people are saying, geez, I can't find notes. I can't find houses. I can't find apartments. I can't find any kind of deals.
Yeah.
I go, well, there's always deals. And so, you know what most people do at a time like now is they just sit on their money and do nothing. I go, no, never sit on your money, do nothing. Just get creative and find little niches and opportunities. So the first niche opportunity I found is go rural, get away from the city. And here's what we're saying. It doesn't matter if it's Texas or Oklahoma or Arkansas or Mississippi or Alabama or all through the Southeast over to South Carolina, up into Kansas and Missouri. If you type in, you're going to see the population in rural Kansas is going down. Now, it's not going like straight down, but it's incrementally going down. And what happens is in Texas too, we hear Texas is booming, but you go out away from the big city and the kids, they don't have jobs. So what do? They leave and they go to Dallas. Or they go, the big 4 cities, that's where they go much of the time. And so when they get a college degree, there's more money in the bigger city. Now, so there's this little town, Seymour, Texas, or Vernon, Texas. I'll use Vernon, Texas, because it's the county seat. So part of the criteria I'm looking for is stability, because I know the county seat's not going to go away. It's going to be there. And so you've got banks are going to be there, attorneys going to be there, courthouse going to be there, but they also typically have a Walmart. So Walmart, people are coming from all over because of Walmart. Plus, they have a McDonald's, they've got a Holiday Inn Express, they've got a college, even a community college, they've got a hospital. So I'm looking for basic infrastructure in this small town. Now the population might be between 10 and 20,000 in the small town. And most people, oh my gosh, no, I'm not going to buy there. Well, there's 10, 20,000 people that aren't going anywhere for the most part. I mean, a few are going to go, but a lot of them are stuck, and a lot are renting. And these people that are renting, they'd buy if they could. Go ahead, Dave.
So where are you finding these assets? I'm presuming you're not working with agents. I'm presuming you're finding these in are you doing mailers? What's your strategy in finding the property?
Great question. Remember how you start out by talking about how you see me on Facebook all the time? So there was ways I did it in the past. And literally what happened one day is somebody contacted me and said, hey, I see you buy in Vernon. And I was like, what? How does anybody know? He said, I found you online because I posted a little ad there one time. And so a wholesaler was from Dallas and trying to wholesale this property. And so one of the things that happened is they did a search and they came up with me as an investor, because in these small towns, there aren't cash buyers.
Right.
Yeah.
You get 2 hours away from Dallas, Fort Worth, out in the middle of nowhere, and you don't have investors and buyers. They want to stay close in. So there's very little or no competition. So the guy said, I got this house and I'll sell it to you for $15,000. Immediately I said, 15,000 sounds a little high. How's the condition? Well, it needs some more. What's the story? Well, the guy died. He lived there forever. So it's in livable condition, but he died. How long ago did he die? Oh, a couple of years ago. What's the story? Well, and so we went back and forth, and I said, there's no way 15. And he kept down until finally he said, well, I guess I can't find anybody else to buy. You say you're interested. I tell you what, just you go ahead and talk directly to the owner. So this is what often happens for me, is that somebody finds a lead and they don't know what to do. They don't have my experience. And they're too high. I see this too high. And so now also I do it from the standpoint too of even higher priced houses where they're offering for a $100,000 house, 50,000 cash, and they owe 60. Well, those right. I take subject to the existing loan or do lease options. So I play both sides. So if I get a bigger, nicer house with an existing loan, I'll then buy that and then I'll wrap it and sell it with seller financing. So I've got a strategy for low priced houses, medium priced houses, higher priced houses, but just to finish these small towns, most of the time in small towns, they're 50,000 or less, the typical house I'm getting. Yeah. And think about it, in these small towns, most people have low income in these small towns. They can only afford $450, $500 a month in rent. And for what they can pay for rent, they could buy my house. And again, they get their money from tax refund, just like I did in Corpus Christi. I found in these small towns, there's good people who have a family and they want to have a home that they own and they see themselves as throwing away money for rent. So if I can get one of these good people who are willing to scrape together a small down payment, and again, most of the time now, I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to get some seasoning on it. But even I got private lenders, I got a lot of different people. So I might do a collateral assignment. And I might just go on the collateral assignment, go ahead and borrow against it from somebody I know, and I'll personally guarantee it because, I mean, I'm borrowing maybe 10 or 20,000 against this house that's worth 40 or 50. So it's a loan to value, very low risk.
So are you using any kind of marketing to find properties as well? Yeah.
From a standpoint of marketing, the main thing I found is I would literally go ahead and have a house in a small town that's for rent or for sale. And somebody would be calling me. And then I'd say, and I got this going on right now in multiple small towns. I'd say, well, I tell you what, this house doesn't fit, or this house is already rented or sold, whatever, but there's lots of vacant houses around town. How about you work with me and you drive around town and you get me phone numbers and addresses. I recruit bird dogs that live right there in that town, and they bring me photos and they bring me a list and I can skip trace. So I'm constantly in my mindset, how can I leverage? How can I leverage other people? Now, the other thing of how things have gone, in the old days, we used to have the local paper, the small little throwaway paper, and now it's been replaced by Facebook. So literally each and every one of these small towns have now got a Facebook buy-sell trade group. And you can post for free in these buy-sell trade groups. So I post, but I also recruit these other people to have them post because they're local people who know people.
Yeah,
and
of
I
course.
find the local people who know people, they get an even better result and response. But I was coaching, training a guy. He just wanted to learn how to like wholesale properties. And my goal was train people to wholesale properties to me. And then I would go fix them and rehab and retail them or seller finance them. So I'll never forget this one day. I was in Southeast Texas, Beaumont, Port Arthur, which is one of the markets I like, about 90 miles right toward the border of Illinois, or not Illinois, Louisiana. And so I go and I said, let me show you. So I get on Facebook. I go and I had a house. I needed to get the grass cut. So I said, watch this. So I posted this free ad in the vendor area. And I said, hey, I need somebody to cut grass right now. I'll pay top dollar because the city's going to come charge me big bucks.
Yeah.
Please call me immediately. And this is lunchtime. I said, watch this. My phone blows up. Bing, ring, 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 ring. And I take the call and I say, hi, what's your name? Dave. Okay. Hi, Dave. And tell me, let me ask you a few questions here before I go too far. How long you been in business, Dave? 5 years. Well, that sounds about right. How many yards you cut for customers you got? About 100. That sounds about right. And let me ask, of those 100, how many are older people? What do you mean older? Of like 50 plus, 55 plus. Oh, geez, 15, 20%. Really? And how old is the oldest guy? Oh, geez, he's about 92. 92, how's his health? Oh, he's in hospice. Hospice? Really? Well, what else you got to tell me? Well, he actually offered to sell me his house. Really? Now, is this the house he lives in or another one that's vacant? Oh, no, this is another one vacant, is pack rat full of stuff, right? Older people, pack rat full of house. The house not on the market. Turns out it's in the best school district. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,000 square foot house, brick, nice house in the best school district, worth about $150,000. The guy who's the yard guy says he offered to sell it to me for $40,000. I go, 40,000 for 150. That sounds pretty good. And I said, so why didn't you buy? Now think about this important nugget. Why didn't you buy? I don't have the money. Does it need any repairs? Well, about 25 or 30. Okay. And so what do you do when you're not doing yards? Well, my dad, he does painting and sheetrock. Well, let me ask you a question. If I would pay you a bird dog fee of $500 to $1,000, could you introduce me to the owner? Well, yeah. And what if I buy the house and then I pay you the bird dog fee? I give you and your dad the work. You make an extra $10,000, $20,000 on this deal. Well, yeah. So I'm always focused on the other person's incentive to them. And I didn't get that house for 40, sadly to say. I only paid 60 for it. But I made some money on that house.
Not bad.
And so I'm doing things where there's no competition. And by the way, this is right between Port Arthur, Texas, which is
I wouldn't give too much
population.
information away there. Don't tell too many people.
I'm not worried about it because they're not going to do what I'm going to do. Or better yet, they're going to try and it's not going to work. And then they're going to contact me and say, hey, Mark, I think it's going to be better to work with you. And so long story short, it's the best school district between Port Arthur and Beaumont. And those two cities' population is about 200,000. This little community's population is 15,000. So that's one of the keys is I like these smaller communities, but they're close to bigger ones.
Yeah.
So your proximity to a bigger city is key, superseding school districts, superseding everything, just outside that rich area that they can't afford, but they want to where they work at.
Well, and a good example too, you got Waco. See, you got the big cities, the big four. You got Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. You ask anybody, those are the cities they think of. They don't think about Beaumont, Port Arthur. They don't think about Wichita Falls. People think about Waco now, but they got the TV show there. But you go an hour outside of Waco, there's a ton of small, all through Texas, all through Oklahoma, all through Kansas. I'm talking to a lady right now. She's retired. And so she lives in Chase, Kansas. Chase, Kansas, population about 4,000 people. And she says, I'm having trouble finding deals. I said, I can come to Kansas and drive around and I'll point out all kind of vacant houses all over town. I can do that.
It's really interesting. So you and I actually, what you're describing, that's how I got started in notes. Was we had a project very, very, very similar to that in Columbus, Ohio. And then what fell apart for us was when Dodd-Frank was introduced and we didn't have a registered mortgage loan originator.
Right.
We had to just let it go for the time being until mortgage originators started showing up. But a very, very similar take on it.
Ray, you have a lot of energy, my man. You have a lot of, you're flying all over the coop. I'm impressed because I would say the overlying comments you're saying is that work, right? Constantly networking, constantly getting involved, constantly being there is a lot of work. And most people are waiting for it to be handed to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with me. Okay. I'm a big believer. What do you love? What's fun? There's one of my mentors, Jimmy Napier, who wrote a fantastic book called Invest in Debt. Yep. And he belonged to a group of 4 people. Jack Miller was great. He's passed on, but there still is Peter Fortunato, who's fantastic in the note space. And there's a guy named John Shaw. So these guys back in the 80s and 90s were great influence and mentors to me. And the thing that I learned from Jimmy is that he'd do the house side, or he'd do the mobile home side, and he'd do the note side. He played both sides. And that's a lot of the influence that I had was Jimmy in his book, Invest in Debt, but then also restructuring the debt and going back. And Jimmy was a good old boy from Shipla, Florida. And he'd go and have his calculator, and he'd push the buttons in, and he'd hold up and say, now, if I was to pay that much, it'd be an error. The little computer, the TI calculator would say error. He'd say, it'd be an error to pay that.
Yeah.
So I always thought that sense of humor. But to me, I learned from these guys something called ELF. They said, be an elf, and do things that are easy, lucrative, and fun.
Yeah. So
that's what I focus on. I want things to be easy, lucrative, and fun. So I love to travel, and I love exploring and some quaint small towns and hole-in-the-wall places to eat and meet people and have conversations. And, the good old boys who've been around, who know everybody, they're meeting there for breakfast at the good old, Granny's Cafe.
Yeah.
And they've been meeting there every day for years. And you get strike up a conversation with them. They know all the farmers, they know everybody, and see, that's old school, but I combine the old school with the modern technology with the Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I combine them both together. Go ahead.
I know that you're going to be doing a course soon, right? And I want to get into that. So guys, whoever's tuned in, we'll be hitting on that to finalize the conversation. But I think what, Mark, you're saying is that hitting the avenues in a different direction, using the people who are local to help you bird dog, to find those vacant properties. Then you're going to go and skip trace to find the owner, and you're going to be postcarding, calling them, or emailing, however you're reaching them, right? Or all 3.
Well, and in these small towns, everybody knows everybody. Sure. People grew up there. It's the old way it used to be. In the big cities, people don't know their next door neighbor. In the small towns, they often still do. And they know people's business. And I literally could walk down the street. Ms. Jones over there, she knows everybody's business. And I'll go talk over Ms. Jones, and she said, oh, yeah, Betty Lou, she was such a good lady. She's in a nursing home. Which nursing home? And see, I'm like a private investigator, but it's fun for me.
Mm-hmm. So are you looking, I know one of the things, we're very similar on a lot of things we do, similar outlook and stuff like that. One of the things that you do that makes me really nervous is these small towns. And I think partially that's just because I'm not local. So do you have like a radius? Like, is it within driving distance, or how do you look at that?
Well, here's the thing. And you make a very good point, because when I was younger and I still had this mindset, it was a big deal for me to go 90 miles over to Beaumont, Port Arthur. And I'll never forget when I started in Dallas and people said, well, why don't you just work Dallas? Why are you going to Houston? I said, well, because mindset wise, when I come to Houston and I'm looking back at Dallas, I got a different perspective. And then I started working initially Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, going to RIA meetings. And I put 50,000 miles on my vehicle because I was driving every month, each of these cities, hitting the meetings for networking. Things are so easy now because you can get on the computer and do Zoom and things are so much easier than they used to be. Yeah. And so big picture, when we had this whole COVID thing, I met a guy and he was killing it. Yeah, a black guy that I spoke in Vegas at this thing. And I'll never forget the story because I'm listening to him, and I met him at his house in Birmingham in a low income, predominantly black neighborhood. He's a black guy. And so I'm in this house looking around. It's a nice brick, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 1,200 square foot house. And I know even in the hood, in Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, in the hood, this house used to be 80,000. Now they're going for 120 to 150. And I asked him, I said, what's a house like this sell for? He said, $40,000. I'm like, what? Now keep in mind, this was not 5 years ago. This was about a year ago.
Wow.
I go, 40,000 for a brick house? He said, man, this is a low income Black neighborhood. He said, in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm like, and what will it rent for? Oh, $700-800. I'm like, holy smokes, I could pay retail and cash flow. This is crazy. and then I said to him, and what did you buy it for? This is where it gets really interesting. Oh, I paid about $500.
Wow.
You did what? What? Wait. How in the world did you buy this house for $500? Well, I bought a tax lien certificate. You bought this house as a tax lien certificate. Well, yeah, because I'm Black and the neighborhood's Black and I know people. I knew the person died and I checked with the relatives and I knew they weren't going to redeem. And in Alabama here, as soon as you get possession, you can go ahead and clean it up a little bit and start renting it out immediately. What? Yeah, I got my money back the first month. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So, and I've been studying this for the last year. And so each state has its own thing, but I've got with the right attorney now, and I've been learning, here's my next big thing. I'm focused, I'm excited, buying not just tax liens, but tax deeds, and then get a tax deed to where I can get the title clean, but I'm all in for say $10,000 and the house is worth 40, 50. Well, if I could be all in for 10 and it's worth 40, I like those numbers. And I think my risk is pretty low. Yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
quickly kind of summarize, what's the difference between tax lien and tax deed for those who may not know?
Great question. Well, I'll just talk about Alabama for a moment. So in Alabama, they got a two-part process. There's the auction when you don't pay your taxes because the local municipalities and schools and everything, they need their money. So they make a sale. And at the sale, the hedge funds are coming in and buying these a lot of times, even over, because it used to be 12% in Alabama, guaranteed by the state. Now it's 8%, but that's still pretty darn good. And it's 3 years of waiting and redemption time where it's a tax lien certificate. And so you'll only earn the interest and they can redeem in those 3 years. After 3 years, and this is why a lot of people don't like Alabama, it now goes to a tax deed and you got 3 years of redemption time as a tax deed. But quite frankly, 90% of the time, people don't redeem once it goes to a tax deed because you've got 3 years of accumulated taxes plus more legal costs and things like that. So if I can get a tax deed that's only got 6 to 12 months left, very unlikely going to redeem. I got immediate possession and I'm looking for a house that is close enough to livable condition that I can get somebody in there renting it cheap. And then once it goes over, there's a quiet title process you can do for an attorney for about $1,500 depending. So take it all the way through the process. And then these low-end houses, I don't want to be a landlord. I'm going to sell or finance them. But I'm going to have a nice little income stream. And especially with seasoning, I can go ahead and sell those.
So are you familiar with Guardian Tax?
No.
No? They're big tax lien buyers in Alabama. I just paid them. I just paid them last month and I got another check going out to them on Monday for redeeming taxes on properties I foreclosed on. And so they didn't pay on their taxes. And so they're doing the same kind of thing. But they're big. They're out of actually Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, the point is there's so many ways to make money in real estate and you got to decide what's the right niche for you. And so I'd be looking at these pools and I'd look at the numbers. And of course, the price over the last couple of years kept going up and up and skinnier and skinnier. And on top of that, you got the big hedge fund that then bought the smaller hedge. And by the time it's been stacked and stacked and stacked, I'm looking and going, no, these numbers don't work for me. And so I just found going direct. And one last story, if I can, real quick, because again, when you're working these neighborhoods, I had a client again. He said, hey, this lady, she used to be in the nail business. She claims the Vietnamese come in and undercut her. The truth is she got involved with drugs. And so she bought this house, seller finance, and now she's been paying on it. It's 15 years. She only got 4 years left, and she got behind 6 months. Well, by the way, didn't just get behind. Has been stealing the utilities, didn't pay the taxes, didn't pay the insurance, everything you can violate on the deed of trust. And so she's looking to try to just sell for about $16,000. And that's about the loan balance. And she's going to get $500 to $1,000 and just walk away. So I said, So I looked at this and I go, who's the lender? Oh, it's a private individual. Ding, ding, ding. I said, okay. Well, so I come in to buy the house, get the house under contract. And I say to the lady, I need to talk to your lender because I'm going to see if she'll agree to me taking the loan subject to and reinstating. And so it's an older black lady who's moved away. She's like on the border with Oklahoma, and this is like on the border with Louisiana by the Gulf Coast. And I explained to the lady, well, you're aware that she hasn't paid you in 6 months. Yes. And that the property's in disrepair, needs about 14,000 repairs. Well, yes. And she's not paying insurance, not paying taxes, and problem. And then I got this little thought. I go, you know, I can go with this subject too and reinstate the loan. That'd be a good deal because I have the 16,000 paid off in 4 years, right? That's pretty good amortization. Or I should offer her cash.
Yeah.
So I explained all these problems and I said, or I could just pay you cash. And when I mentioned pay you cash, you could have heard a pin drop because she's thinking she's about to get a windfall of the full amount of money. And sorry, I went too fast. No, you see, because I'd have to wait. You'd have to wait 4 years. I can pay you about 6,000 cash. And when I went from 16 to 6, you could hear a pin drop again. And there's this pause. And she's like, oh, well, I'd have to talk that over with my husband. I say, well, that's fine. I'll wait. Go ahead. And I hear this whisper. And a few minutes later, she comes back to the phone and says, we'll take it. So I backed into this note and we got it for 6,000. But wait, it gets better. Number one, this client, he had an uncle. We were able to borrow $20,000 as a collateral assignment. I even had to say to the attorney, you know what a collateral assignment is? No, let me explain it to you. So we borrowed $20,000 and actually I had him buy the note and everything. I just walked him through the process, but we used the $20,000 secured by the note we'd not yet bought, took out the 20, 6 to the seller. So she got that. The attorney, of course, took care of everything. We had 14,000 left over that went in an escrow account to be held for after we foreclosed, took possession to rehab the property because we knew right up front that the wholesale value to a buyer would be about 20. So the person who loaned the money, his money was secure. Plus we're paying him 18% interest. Who wouldn't want 18%? But he was an uncle or something. And then we go, and I made sure before we closed that there was short-term insurance and for 3 months on that property. And then as we proceeded to go forward and try to work it out with the lady, she had a criminal defense attorney who told her not to talk to us. And then he wouldn't talk to us, she wouldn't talk to us, so left us as no option but to foreclose. Yeah. So we go to begin the foreclosure process and the attorney's assistant missed it by 1 day. And so in Texas, it's got to be, 21 days from and all that. So we missed the whole month. But not to worry. And again, I was trying to work this through the student and everything else. So we get all these excuses. A month goes by. We all know this in the business, right? About foreclosure, right?
Yeah.
And so this is Texas, for God's sakes, where you can foreclose so fast. And so she screwed up a second time and lied about it. And the attorney felt so bad, he offered to buy us out. So we lost 2 entire months. And then as we finally get the foreclosure done, the attorney, who's a defense attorney, criminal defense attorney, files a lawsuit against my student, and for slander of title. And he's freaking out. He's getting sued. I goes, no big deal. Then it goes to a temporary restraining order. It goes to a TRO, temporary restraining order. So they got to go to a court. And so he shows up. He's even got a letter from code enforcement about how they're stealing and all these things they're doing. And the judge says, it's not acceptable evidence because you need a witness. He's like, I can't believe it. I said, you're learning about the legal system. There's a lot to learn. And long story short, this whole thing goes. And then I'm saying to him, we only had this insurance for 90 days. What's the status of the insurance? Well, they're giving me a notice that's about to end and we'll get it replaced. I can't because the foreclosure process, nobody wants to insure it. We'll get this kind of insurance that you have forced place. Yeah. And excuse after excuse from the student. And finally, I had a girlfriend. I'm in California and I arrive and I check my phone message on a Friday morning and I get this message from him, cryptic message, don't yell at me. That's not a good sign. And so I call and say, what happened? There was a fire last night. A fire? Well, yeah, we don't know if it's arson or not, but maybe the lady was in there trying to go sort through her things. There was no power and she had candles on and the candle fell over, but the whole place burned down. It's a total loss. I said to him, all right, well, we're calling your insurance company right now. No more excuse, no more BS. And it turned out the fire happened Thursday night. This is Friday, and the expiration was the upcoming Monday at midnight.
Wow. Oh, thank goodness.
We just barely made it by that much. And the insured amount was $80,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, the insured amount was $80,000. So what ends up happening is, and they even said, it's so unusual that the the borrower, the lender is contacting us instead of the borrower. So hint, hint. Well, you ever consider looking into the possibility of arson? Well, it's a small enough claim. We're not even going to mess with that. It's a small claim for us. So then, now, of course, the insurance claim, $80,000 is made out to the lender and the insured. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm thinking, well, let me look, see the deed of trust here. It says that according to law in Texas, the lender is entitled to the full amount to put the property back in its original condition. Of course, this criminal attorney that she had was getting coached and everything. No. I said, okay, well, we'll settle, because now it went to arbitration and things like that and mediation and everything. And so I said, well, we'll do 50-50. No, we're not going to do that. They offered us 20. We ended up settling for 25 because it just wasn't worth it going back and forth and everything else. But if you look at all the numbers, he ended up having about $1,000 of his own money in this deal.
Yeah.
And the whole thing took about 4 months and got a check for $25,000. All these stories.
It sounds like you have to have a lot of rehab people that can rehab properties. Would that be true?
Well,
wherever you go.
Here's the interesting thing. I watch for what the problem is, and if the problems are too bad, I pass, or I just put it under contract to try to wholesale it. I'm typically looking for things that are close to livable condition. And then I'm talking to people, and I say to people in these small towns all the time, can you or your boyfriend or your family, can somebody do painting? Sure, we can do painting, we can do sheetrock, we got some tools. Can you do flooring? Well, yeah, we can do that. Okay. And there's always an electrician in town. There's always a plumber in town. There's always an HVAC guy in town. Every one of these towns have got typically one or more, plus it might be a little further away, but within 45 minutes to an hour is a bigger city, and you pay a premium and bring somebody in from the bigger city. So these are all things I factor in.
Okay.
Right up front when I buy it.
So let's close with what you're offering people. We'll put the link here in the chat box we got going on.
Great.
What are you looking to do with the people who are listening in right now? What's your challenge to them? What are you going to challenge them with?
I'm looking for somebody who's actually psychologically and emotionally ready to take the step and do their first note. Now, maybe they've done one note already, or maybe they can't find notes, what the situation is. But my idea of fun is doing a deal. Mm-hmm. And I'm open to do it in any state and because again, in Kansas, I'm going to do a contract for deed. In Missouri, I'm going to do a deed. So I do it on a state-by-state basis. I make sure they have the right attorney, but the opportunity is hands-on experiential learning. But I'll say, okay, Nathan, you're in Missouri, whatever. So, and we're going to pick within an hour of where you are, some smaller towns, and we're going to have you post on Facebook, and I'm going to tell you what to say, and we're going to have people respond, and you're going to get me on the phone. I'm going to bring my 40 years of experience negotiating, structuring, and everything else, and then I'm going to steal this property because they don't want it. And again, like the one I bought in Vernon, Texas for $1,000, they wanted 15. Mm-hmm. 6 months later, I made them 2 offers. One was for $3,000, no payments for 6 months, and then the payment would start out of the cash flow, or $1,000 now. He said he took the $1,000 now. So I've just got all this experience with communication, negotiation, deal structure, creativity. And so a person can get hands-on learning of doing a deal with very low risk. There's never no risk, but low risk. And again, they can put up some money and make a return. I can put up, I don't care. I just want to do a deal. But so typically I might get, Nathan, we're going to have this be your deal. You're going to need an LLC, but now you're the one originating the loan, not me. So under the different laws of the state, you can only get so many loans you got to originate on the case. And Texas is like 3.
Yeah.
So typically I don't want to be doing 10 myself. I'd rather have 10 people, they each do them, and I do it with them. So what I'm offering, in the past, I've done this on a group basis. I said 3 weeks is a small enough time that it's like, I've done 3 months with people before. But I said, let me give it a short period of time. So I did for $750 last fall, that's $250 a week. I did this group coaching thing where we did a Facebook group. I did some conference calls. I did some Zoom. but I got people out there turning over rocks, bringing me the leads, and then I work them with the goal is that we got 10 or 20 people, somebody's going to get off their assets and go do something. And if not, I got 3 more leads yesterday through Facebook. So like you're seeing all these different posts. So I'm constantly working leads. I'm looking for other people. About a third of the leads I get are from other people, from my networking. Wow. And so the big picture, I said, let me do something crazy, because I've been watching what some of these gurus been out there. I said, let me make it ridiculous. You got to have some skin in the game. How low could I go? I know what I'll do. I'll do $21 for 21 days. 21, yeah. I mean, come on. If you're going to say, well, that's too much money. Are you kidding me? Well, I got to think about it. I got to research this. Well, good luck then. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking $21. So I figure I get 20 people, and I'm not going to make any money at $21, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, Nathan, Dave, you got a question? Post it in the Facebook group. You're not going to have me on the phone. You're not going to be texting me. It's all in the Facebook group. And then I'm going to answer your question, so everybody gets the benefit of your question when I answer it. Other people might also input, but the whole goal is going to be, okay, who's taking action? Right. Who's talking to somebody? Who needs help? And so every day, but meanwhile, oh, here's another lead I got. Here's another lead I got. Okay, if you're available, oh, you're at work, no problem. We'll record it, but I'll go ahead and I'll get on the call. They say, hey, Nathan, I'm calling about your property, And I got like 5 people listening in on a live conference call on a real deal. And again, I'm buying these houses in small towns. I got a bunch of people right now out toward Wichita Falls. I get these calls. They're looking for a place to rent because there's windmills going in. So that's part of the thing I watch, is where there's jobs and where I'm getting a lot of calls.
Cool. So Jonathan asked a question. Are you using kind of technology like CRMs to keep all your contacts, your plumbers, your electricians, your buyers, all stuff? Do you use a system?
And your deals too, like how do you keep all those straight?
Yeah, good question. So basically over time I've evolved. I originally just started out with a good old 3-ring binder and dividers and paper and pen and old school. And I mean, by force, okay, I'll use some Podio. So I've done some with Podio, and it just, technology keeps changing, and I keep hearing about the latest thing, and oh, well, you should use REI Blacklist, and you should do this and that. So I keep dabbling in, but then now I got to take all my data from this and convert to this and everything else. So I've got my basic CRM that I do stuff, but if all else fails, I've got my simple system that doesn't shut down, break down, and I can just do there. And then when it's like, okay, but follow-up is the key.
Yeah. And
typically what I do is I get about 100 in my pipeline, and I get a simple system of dividing them up. So it's like, okay, it's time. Hey, Nathan, we talked about a month ago, and I just followed up. Did you ever sell that property? No. Well, you said you had an offer. Whatever happened to that? They didn't have the money. I said, okay, well, I'm still ready to buy when you're ready to sell. Well, I'm ready to sell now. and literally most of the time it's 3 to 6 months of follow-up. I don't get these first time out. No. It's most of the time timing. Timing is a huge key in this business.
Are you getting on the phone with these people? Are you emailing? Are you postcarding? What's your...
I'll do all the above. It really comes down to me talking to them and what they prefer. So I will go ahead and I'll say, well, Dave, do you prefer I call you, I text you, I email you? I have said people say, oh no, don't email me. Oh no, don't text me. I just told you I'm 74 years old. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. Just call me.
Yeah.
And it all depends on them. I said, well, I know your or can I get an address? But I'll do, and typically even there's like things where you can do like a nice greeting card or even like a gift. And there's a thing called lumpy mail. And so I play with all these different kind of things to get people's attention.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. There's always a way.
So guys, the form we have in the chat box, and I can post it in the group as well, allows you to fill a form out, just kind of giving Mark some information. But what it will be attached to the email response will be his little bio, a little picture of him, and his challenge for you, right? And if you're interested, you can reach out to him via email or phone and go from there. So I encourage everyone to just jump in there and try it out. What's the worst that's going to happen? For $21, that's a pizza, right? For a family on Friday night kind of thing. Give it a shot. This is the way that most people are looking to find deals now because of the way things have evolved over the years, right? When we first got started, tapes of hundreds of thousands of notes were on it. We're not seeing that. And the pricing is dramatically up there. When you're getting at these special financing deals, they're not going to be sent to you like we've always been sent a tape of assets. That doesn't work. And contacting banks, I've never heard good success that way. But contacting these small rural areas and these seller finance deals and being creative is the key to things. So, I think that this is something that if you haven't learned about this stuff, rewatch it. We use some terminology here that may be new for a lot of newer people. But if you live in a rural area, this is a process that you can repeat over and over and over again. And networking with others, right? Talking to friends, just dropping it when you walk around talking to friends or family at a RIA. Hey, do you know any abandoned homes? Do you know anyone looking to try selling? Ask the question. That's all it is.
Yep. Talk. Yeah. People are more willing to share than you think. So just
we're in the people business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. I see a couple people here thanking you very much for your time, your knowledge, your experience, and a few people said they missed it, but they're going to be watching the replay on our YouTube channel or Facebook, whatever they're going to do. But guys, if you have any questions, Mark's been awesome. He's involved in everywhere and anywhere. So I'm encouraged everyone to just jump on the program, spend the time, not even the money, spend the time to go through the education and experience what it is to be involved on a day-to-day business with Mark. He's a hustler, right? Thank you, Mark, for joining us. Thank you for spending time with us and explaining deals to us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got no excuses.
All
Jump in.
Yeah.
And I'd love to come back sometime and talk about some advanced strategies too.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Substitution of collateral, combination collateral assignment, substitution of collateral, first refi refusal, a few little fancy bells and whistles, slicing and dicing the note. I got some stories on that too.
I think a lot of people want to learn about collateralization, but most people don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
It's a very heavy topic of borrowing money against the collateral. With those
do it right.
Those people don't even know you can do that, right? People go to find JV money. What you can do is you can buy the loan and borrow against that loan, right? I've never done that, but I've heard of people doing it. So definitely tune in and check that out. So a lot of people are giving you a lot of props in the chat box. So everyone, feel free to fill out the form or reach out. We'll connect you with Mark and go from there. So again, have a good weekend.
Thank you again.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.